So welcome to this great S event from Atlassian Meru. My name is Kevin Tway. I'm the East Meru community lead. And I can't explain how ecstatic I am with regards to our topic today, which is reimagining broad communication using the Atlassian team playbook, led by none other than Christine De La Rosa. Hope I've pronounced that right. Yeah, so I'll just do a bit of an introduction. I'll just introduce Christine with the honor that I have to introduce you today. So Christine is a member of the Atlassian team. And with regards to what Christine really does, brand expert, and she's from Atlassian. And what she really does is to show and actually elevate Atlassian's expertise on ways of working. She has a history of applying the behavioral economics to groups at scale, which is why she's played a role at Atlassian's studying and advocating for open work styles and team practices. You can hear her hosting. That is, she has a podcast called Work Check. I've already shared it, and so I think also she'll be sharing some of the resources that she'll be having to our session today. And another thing about Christine De La Rosa is she's quite flexible. I've never met someone that flexible, especially from the Atlassian team, and I really appreciate her starting her whole Monday morning with us. So it means that obviously your whole week is going to be awesome as it is. I have no other, without any further ado, I think I can really take it over to you, Christine. In Kenya, usually welcome you by saying Karibu Sana.
That's right. Thank you so much, Kevin. You are so, you've been so generous and patient, and just wonderful to work with to get this going. Quick housekeeping question. Are there folks there that I'm speaking to as well, or is it just mostly people that are online here?
Pardon, I couldn't hear you, Kristen.
Oh, I just have a quick question. Is the folks that we're speaking to right now, is it mostly just the people that I see online in the Zoom, or are there people present there?
Okay, so there are actually currently there are only two. I actually took the event fully virtual so that everybody can just join in, so that it's also easier to ask the questions. So most of the people are, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, Kevin, thank you again for inviting me here. I have a couple little quick exercises that I wanted to walk y'all through to help you your introduction to the Atlassian team playbook. But before we go into those, I just wanted to level set and get an understanding for where everyone is at. So first thing is I want everyone to do an imagination exercise. So if you need to close your eyes, you can close your eyes if you really need to picture it, but think about the last time or any time that you were on a very, very successful team, an awesome team, a team that you loved working with. You would go back in time. If you could go back to that team again, you would do it again, and just think about it. And now what I want you to do is think about what made that team really successful. Feel free to unmute yourself and shout it out or put it in the chat, but I'd love to just hear from you and understand what about those teams were very successful. I have a friend that's a school teacher, and she says that you should wait 7 seconds of silence to give people a chance to respond. So I'm going to wait for 7 seconds and see, just shout it out or put it in the chat. Could be one word. What made those teams very successful? Yes. Communication. What type of communication? Usually I hear it's open communication, it's honest communication, it's where psychological safety is very high, so you feel like you can say what you need to say. What else do you remember from these teams? Yes, Kevin, understanding each other's strengths and weaknesses. I like that a lot because it's not just, one person. Like teamwork is about lots of people. It's about being able to have relationships. So you're not just understanding yourself, you're understanding other people too. Awesome. Anyone else? And I'll let you know what I hear from when I ask this question with other people as well. I'll tell you that usually when I go around, people will say, oh, it was fun. I enjoyed their company. Or I'll hear people say, we really learned from each other. We helped each other along. It didn't matter if something wasn't your job or wasn't your specific line item or responsibility. If someone needed help, you would go to them and say, hey, I don't know how to problem solve through this. Has anyone encountered this before? Can anyone help me brainstorm? Yes, networking, Stephen. So I think that really good teams help each other make connections, help each other introduce each other to other partners or other people. Maybe you can't solve a thing, or maybe you can't help with someone, but you can know somebody who can help them. And what's great about all of these things, you know what I'm not hearing? It's not money. It's not resources. It's not headcount. It's not the most fashionable office spaces or special devices. What it is the connection between people. And so what we have learned is the opposite is also true. So think of now time when you were on a team that you didn't like, a team that you're like, oh, this is the team that I don't like working with. I really wish I could move to a different team. If you have to think back to many years ago, because your teams now I'm sure are awesome, but like just think, what was that like? Usually the opposite is true. Feel free to put it in the chat or unmute and share. I'll start us off. Like a team that I had trouble with was a team where nobody wanted to help each other. It was like, I got to get my work done, and your work is your work, my work is my work. It wasn't very collaborative. Kevin's rating where only one person is doing all the work. Yes. I'm laughing because it's very relatable. Yeah, that's not a very great team when the burden, it's unequal distribution of work. And so it goes back to the idea that our best teams are the ones where you are able to honestly, openly connect, share people, share thoughts, ideas, solutions. And the worst teams are the teams that where you don't have those things. There's politics involved. There's fighting and bickering because you're not there to support each other. And so what we have learned is the best teams, you don't need money, you don't need extra income. The best teams are based on the emotional skill sets. And so we created this thing called the Atlassian Team Playbook, where you might be familiar with some of the workshops that we do, but we have these one-time meetings. Just one meeting will help you improve the way that those emotional skills are working. It'll help improve the way you connect and understand, oh, is there something where we aren't aligned? Oh, is there something where, one person is doing way more work and the other people don't even realize that there's more work? Like, how do we help distribute the work evenly? Or we talked about networking. We have one-time workshops, which are one-time meetings, where the team gets together and you figure out like, hey, is there a better group to connect with for what we're working on? Should we be thinking about communicating with other teams in the company or outside the company? Are there special people to connect with? And what these workshops do is improve those emotional skills. You're probably already really good at connecting and communicating, but even if you're really good, it helps you even further because it's not just about you. It's about how you're connecting with other people. I'm going to share my screen briefly. Oh, I can't share my screen right now, but I'll talk about the Atlassian Team Playbook. One of our workshops, which we call a play, is called a health monitor. So if you go to atlassianteamplaybook.com, you'll get to this page. And it talks about all you need to do is schedule a meeting, facilitate the conversation based on the instructions we give, and then you leave with a documented plan. It's just 3 steps. And I'll show you one. This is called the health monitor. If you click on it, you'll get to this page. And you can either go through a guided health monitor here, which is what I recommend, or since we're not actually going through it in real time, I'm going to just walk you through the instructions. So the first thing that you do is you do an assessment with your team. And there are 8 different things that you can learn about with your team to figure out, like, where are we? Are we connected? Are we having fun? Are we learning from each other? Let me do this full screen. The first attribute is a full-time owner. Do you have a driver? So if you look onto the way that I look right now, I have my thumb up. It's like, yes, we do have a driver. That's how you answer yes. If you're looking at this attribute on the screen, you're like, no, we don't have one. Then your answer is no. Your thumb goes down. And if you're not sure, it goes to the side. And what happens is you give everyone time to vote. You say, okay, you have 3 seconds. On the count of 3, let's vote. 1, 2, 3, and everyone puts out their thumbs. And you count it, and you say, oh, everyone agrees. Everyone has thumbs up. And so you write down 100%. We agree. Then you go to the next one. I hit the next attribute button, and it says balance team. That means, do you have the right people on here? Does the team have the right blend of skills? Maybe you had somebody promoted recently and now there's a vacancy for their role and you need to fill in their skill set. And so you don't have a balanced team. Maybe you're on the way there, but not exactly. And so it's in the middle. But maybe some people are new and they say, I don't know what anybody does. I don't know if we have the right roles and responsibility, and they vote down. You tally up all the votes. You say, okay, 3 people voted to the side, 3 people voted down. Okay, next attribute. And you just keep going through all the attributes. This one is shared understanding. Does everyone understand what's going on? This one is values and metrics. Does everyone understand what success means? Because if you're not working towards the same goals, then you're not connected to each other. Proof of concept is another one. Do you have, is what you're working on demonstrated to be the right direction? A 1-pager, do you have a document that says, this is what the team is about, this is what the project is about, this is who is on the team, just something that documents things. So if people forget, or if people are new, they can go back to that document. 2 more left. Dependencies, do you understand who you influence, who you're influenced by, who depends on you? And then finally, is there velocity? Do you have progress? Do you learn from mistakes in the past? Can you create momentum? How fast are you moving? And once you're done voting and you've documented all the things, you have a little chart here of how many of, like, generally people think that we're doing well here. Generally people think that there's some room for improvement. Generally some people, if this is red, that means they think that we really, really need to make it work. So what you then do is say, okay, wow, we have a lot, this velocity looks not so good. It looks like people voted down and it looks like people voted to the side. Not many people think we have velocity. Let's talk about it. And you go down here and you pick the next workshop to work on. It's like, okay, we need to work on velocity. So let me find the velocity attribute and let me pick the next set of instructions to do. Let's pick retrospective. So I click on retrospective and it goes through another set of instructions. You schedule another workshop and you say, okay, let's learn about past lessons. Let's learn about what we did wrong, what we did well, what we could do even better in the future. And you go through all the steps. I mean, it lays it out all here. It gives you even templates if you have Confluence or Trello, or not even Atlassian templates. If you have Miro or Mural, we have templates for you to write all of this down. And what's great is through these conversations, you'll uncover, like, wow, I didn't know about how that you felt this way. Like, let's talk about it. Or I didn't know that some people thought, that so-and-so was the team lead, but I actually thought you were the team lead. And you have conversations and you write it all down and document it. And these conversations help you figure out what you need to do to get aligned. Because with the Atlassian team playbook, all those things that are part of successful teams, like having open communication, having really good communication, having really good understanding of each other's strengths and weaknesses, if you don't know what they are, these workshops will tell you how to find them. let me show you very quickly. If you click on the Plays tab right here, we have all of these things that are free, 100% free. All the templates are free, all the instructions are free, and you just find what you're looking for. So let's say that you, I'm scrolling here on the left-hand side for the types of plays that we have. Let's say that you want to better understand each other in terms of roles and responsibilities, right? So strong relationships, I'm clicking that. Maybe you want to have better working agreements. I can click on this play. It'll take you to a page with even more instructions of what this play means, how you set the stage, the reflection questions, how you can draft agreements, and how you finish off and make your decisions by the end of it. All the instructions are right here. All the templates that we have for free are here. Pictures of what it could look like. And you'll be able to improve in just that area. Maybe you don't like working agreements, you want something else. You can look through any of these things, any of these plays, any of these workshops, and decide that you want to run it. And all you need to do is schedule the meeting and then facilitate this play. I'm actually going to go to one that we talked about in the chat. So understanding each other's strengths and weaknesses. This one is a good one to run. It's called Roles and Responsibilities. And if you have any people on your team where you don't know them that well, this play will basically tell you, okay, here are all the different roles on our team. This is what everyone does. This is what they're good at. This is what they need help on. And at the end of it, you'll know what everyone is responsible for. And if there's unassigned roles, maybe you can change the way that people's responsibilities look. Maybe you can evolve the way your responsibility or your role looks so that the unassigned roles can have a home. And what that'll do too is it'll help you understand what other people are thinking too, not just what you think is the right way for your teammates to have roles and responsibilities, but also what your teammates think they should be doing or what they think you should be doing. And it's a way to better understand each other and learn about each other. I also liked the idea of just networking and better understanding each other. And for that, I recommend the My User Manual. Now, when you think about a user manual, you think about, oh, this is a how-to guide for a car or a computer or some device that you don't know about. But this user manual is for a person. And what you do is you essentially come up with, this is a Confluence template, but you come up with different things about each person. So I don't know if you can read it, but here it says conditions I like to work in, the times and hours I like to work, the best way to communicate with me, how I like to learn, the things that I struggle with. And each person on the team fills out the answers to those questions. And you go around and you share what the answers are so that you can better understand what your teammates need, how they like to talk, how they like to receive feedback, and it improves the connection that you have with each other. And so, like I said, you can go to any of the plays on here, and by doing a play that improves the area that your team could get some help in, it'll make you closer, it'll make you understand each other better. And I think that every play that you do will make your team that much closer to being a successful team. I went over that very quickly, but the high level is essentially, you can use the Atlassian Team Playbook to run a meeting and have that meeting be a meeting about conversation to get alignment and understanding between each team member. They're all free to access. We have templates that are free if you have Confluence or Trello or Miro or Mural or other, even things that Atlassian doesn't have. And if you don't have any software, we have PDFs that you can just download. And we have tables and charts and you can fill it in for free. And the whole purpose is to document what you're doing well and where your team can improve. I'm going to pause because I can talk for much longer, but I want to pause and make sure that all of that makes sense. Does anyone have questions or comments on what I just went over? Feel free to
Yeah,
unmute.
so you can put it all in the chat. So this is what you on. You just put it on the chat, or you can mute yourself and
Kevin, I'm sorry. Kevin, I'm sorry, I can't hear you that well.
Can you hear me now? Sorry, my earbuds issue.
Perfect.
Good. So I was saying, like, you can put it in the chat. You can put it in the chat, or you can unmute if you have a question. And I think I can start off with a question. There's something that I've seen on the attributes about a balanced team. And sometimes getting to know, for example, when you want to know a balanced diet, you know, there's a starch, there's a vegetable, there's protein, and something else, so that you already know that a balanced diet. So according to you, what really makes a balanced team? Like, what do you get? For example, I'm hearing right now there's a new thing called squads, where you can have like a whole, like there's a product owner, there's the person getting the dev, person doing like testing. So according to you, what really makes a balanced team that cuts across? That's the question.
Yeah, that's a great question, Kevin. Well, the short answer is it depends. It depends on what your team needs. But the questions I would ask for what makes for a balanced team is, what does your team need to get done? What is it important for this team? So if the answer for that to that question is, oh, our team is a service team and we have a lot of work. So what's important is that the skill sets of our teammates match the type of work that we are getting. And if we have this much work and only this many skill sets, then we need more people with these other skill sets, because the work that we're receiving is not diversified and is more diversified than our skill sets. Or if your team is a team that makes a lot of decisions and a team that has to guide other teams through journeys, so you're more of a leadership team, well, then the types of teammates that you need leadership skills. They need to have influence, they need to have authority, they need to have knowledge of lots of other team disciplines to have that kind of liaison quality. And so if that's the type of team you have, then those are the skill sets that you need. So it goes back to, what is your team supposed to achieve? And what types of skills and personalities do you need for that team? And whatever that is, just compare that to what your team has. And if there's a gap, that's what you need to fill. But I also like what you said, Kevin, about having a team lead. Like, yes, every team needs a team lead, a strong, definitive leader. Some teams are like, oh, we all make decisions together. At some point, there is going to be a decision that you do not have consensus on. And so you need one strong driver. You need backups. Every team needs very different subject matter experts, people who are experts in different things, but you need some overlap. So let's say one person is sick, or that person has to go and work on a different project. There needs to be a little bit of overlap of knowledge between teammates. So a balanced team isn't a team with just, everyone has different disciplines. A balanced team has some overlapping knowledge to help each other in expertise. And then one last thing is that a balanced team has different personalities. I think it's very, very hard to be on a team where everyone thinks the same way, because how are you going to innovate? You need to have divergent thinking. You need to have differences of opinion. Balanced teams ideally would have someone that's very new plus someone who has been around for a while, or someone that is very senior and someone that is learning for you. You want the differences in fresh opinions, and so you want to have different types of personalities as well. Cool. Africs Academy says, how do you determine the information that should be relayed on the team, especially where you have some classified information? Great question. Do you, just clarifying question, do you mean after a workshop or after a play? Or do you mean just in updates for updating the team? What type of, what information are you trying to relay to the team?
Yeah, I think maybe Paul can unmute and clarify. Paul, maybe you can unmute and clarify.
Yeah, if Africs Academy could unmute and weigh in on, to give me a little bit more information, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you, Rosa, for having us today. So basically, I'm Paul Awiti from Afrix Academy. So my question is, let's say you have a team. So you have a team and you are working towards a certain goal. Let's say it can be a team maybe related to work. So you one goal and maybe you are leading a team, to, let's say a startup, for example. So my question is, as a team leader or as the startup owner, how do you relay the information to your team? Because you understand maybe you'll have some information, let's say, that are classified, let's say like financial information, let's say like other business data. How do you, let's say, know what amount of data? Because you know there is some level of data that you require to relate to your team members. So how do you relate all that type of information?
No, that's a great question. I think all my answers are going to start with it depends, but what does the team absolutely have to know? They don't need to know everything about, what the other companies or external information that's being shared. They only need to know what they need the data to do their work, right? So I think the question goes back to, what is the most important thing for your team to get done? And then in order to get that work done, what do they absolutely have to know? And if they have to know things that are a little bit classified or private, is there a way to make that information generic? So can you, instead of naming names of companies or individual people, can you just say, okay, there's a group out there who has 5 people and these 5 people need XYZ. Is there a way that you can make it private without letting your team know who those people are? Or if the data itself is private, is there a way to make it general? Is there a way to say, oh, on a high level, most of the data says that things are going well or things are not going well, or people are really excited about this part of the project, or people are concerned about this part of the project, without naming the actual feedback, without naming the specifics? Is there a way to anonymize the information? Because I think even if data is classified, there's a way to communicate what's the most important thing that your team needs to know. But I think that depends. Of course, it's just going to depend on what access of information your team is allowed to have. My personal rule is always give as much information as you are able to share that's not confidential, because sometimes you think you know what your team needs to know, but you don't realize that there's other things in the information that would have helped your team if they had more context. So at Atlassian, what we do is we share what we think the teams need to know, but then we have a link to all the information that they're allowed to legally know, so that in case we miss something, they can go and look at the data on their own. And of course, we restrict what in that link to the page with all the information. We take out that's not legal for them to know. Yeah. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions on that one too.
I have a follow-up question on that.
Yes.
Are there any plays to break down knowledge silos? For example, there's people who just hold either information or knowledge. For example, you want to get something, you go and ask the finance guys. They don't know about that. Go and ask the audit guys, the testing. I totally don't understand it. They only know that 12%. Are there any plays or any strategies you can use to break down knowledge silos in the team?
Yeah, I think the roles, there's a bunch. I think the roles and responsibilities play that we went over is really helpful. The number one thing that we learn when people run the roles and responsibilities play is that what you think someone was responsible for is not actually what they're responsible for, or what other people think that you are responsible for. You don't actually do that thing. And people are just shocked. They're like, I had no idea that this is what our teams do. And so sometimes that play breaks down walls and silos because they're like, oh, we can work together now because I thought you worked on something else. So that play is really helpful for breaking down walls. I also think that just getting to know your teammates as humans is helpful. So we have icebreaker activities listed, different icebreakers. The My User Manual is a really good thing. Sometimes people will add questions to My User Manual, like when's the last time you struggled with something really hard in the company? When's the last time you were really happy and wanted to celebrate? You had a lot of pride for something that you did. And when you learn about people, you're like, I didn't know that you cared so much about whatever project. I didn't know that you struggled with this person in the company. I'm so sorry. I should work with you on that. And so when you learn more about people through the My User Manual play or the icebreaker activities, it brings you closer and helps people want to work together more than they did before because they realize other people will need some help. And then the last thing that I'll say for breaking down silos is capacity planning. Capacity planning is a really good play for if you think your team is supposed to get this much work done, but you actually, when you look at all your tickets, when you look at all the work, this is actually how much work you have to get done. So when you run the capacity planning play, everyone has to pitch in and say like, okay, I need to help out here. I need to, we need to work together more because there's no way we're going to get this much work done when we forecasted only this much. So we have to find a new way to work together to help each other out. And so sometimes I think that breaks down silos because you're having to work differently. Yeah. But Kevin, if you have another, if there's something specific that is blocking your team from having barriers, like let me know because maybe it's a different type of blocker that I didn't think about. Any other questions about plays in general? Oh, sorry, Kevin, keep going.
It's okay. I just telling others you can still put it in the chat or you can unmute yourself and ask a question if need be.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you that well again.
You can put it in the chat. Maybe for those who are not able to unmute, or you can just unmute to ask questions. Something about the plays, I've ever tried to do the plays and I was actually looking at the icebreaker activities. Mm-hmm. And they're really helpful, especially in the ACE, because anytime I'm about to do an ACE, especially if it's in person, usually do some of the icebreakers just to help, especially the new members who just come in to get into the mood. You know, sometimes their pleasure and energy can be so much for someone. It can come out and maybe somebody can feel out of place and feel like, no, I'm not this, especially for introverts and also somebody is not. Yeah, it can be quite, so you actually try to bring in and understand someone in that case. So maybe on the plays, what are your top 3 plays, especially maybe on the categories? I saw you talked about the health monitor. You mentioned about something on the retro. Which are your best plays? Say.
I mean, the plays are all different for different purposes. So it's like if I had all my children, like I wouldn't, I can't choose between the different children. They're all special. But I'll bring up a couple that I haven't brought up already. If you've ever heard of the disruptive brainstorming play, I really love this one because it is a different way to come up with new ideas. I think that a lot of people here, I'll share my screen to show you what it looks like. It's called disruptive brainstorming. And it's a way to come up with ideas that aren't the same all the time. So let's say that you use Trello. I'll pick this one. You have your brainstorming. So this one says a science teacher needs to come up with a different type of project. And here, the first column is familiarity bias. It says, we have a bias for things we're familiar with. So then it's a prompt. It says, okay, come up with ideas all about projects for this science teacher's class based on things that the kids will be familiar with, the students will be familiar with. And so everyone stops thinking about the ideas they already had for so long, and they're forced to think of a new idea because it's a new prompt. And then you spend 5 minutes on that. People vote on the ideas they like, and then you move on to the next one. Okay, here's another concept, curiosity. Come up with ideas for this science class that have to be about exploration, discovery, things that make the students want to learn more. Okay, great. Let's come up with ideas there. And so what I really like about that play is that you can come up with any prompts. Let's say that there's a prompt for how do we have, what's the next ACE, meeting here for Maru? Like maybe we have different ideas, and you say, okay, so the prompt is, we want big names, spokespeople, like what big names do you want to come here? Great, everyone comes up with ideas. And so people who have been thinking about a type of event to bring to this group, and they say the same idea over and over and over, it forces them to not say that same idea. It forces them to come up with a new one. We can have another prompt like, okay, what if the next meeting has to do, yes, what if the next meeting has to do with playing a game? What kind of ideas do we have around playing games? Okay, next prompt. What if the next meeting has something to do with being able to get a worksheet or like a homework assignment or something where you can take something away from the meeting and bring it to your teams at your company? What kind of ideas do we have for those kinds of meetings? Okay, let's go to another meeting. Maybe it's a Q&A. What if you were just to have an ask me anything, what subject matter experts or what subjects do we want? Like, the disruptive brainstorming play is a really good way to get your team thinking in a different way. So I really love that one. And then another play that is relatively new that just went up. Let me share my screen again. Let me go to, it's called Ritual Reset. Where is it? Here we go. And what Ritual Reset is it's a way to change the way that you're working. So let's say that you all worked in the same location and then you had to become remote and you had to go on Zoom all the time. Let's say that you were working one way because you were 3 people and now your team ballooned to 50 people. Should you work differently? And what'll happen is you'll do an audit of, okay, how often do you put all the different rituals, put all the different ways that you work, and plot them on a grid. Okay, how often is this for the whole team or is it for part of the team? Is it every day? Is it once a week, every 2 weeks, every month, every quarter? And you put all of the rituals on there and you say, okay, are these things important to do still? Should we retire them? Should we stop the ways that we work together? Is there anything on here that you would improve? And is there anything on here like we absolutely have to keep doing these things? And so what I like about this play is it forces you to be intentional about the way that you work. It forces you to make sure that the ways that you're communicating with your team, that you have putting reports together, the way that you're sharing together, the way that you're coming up with new ideas together, make sure that those are the things that your team actually wants to do. Because as time changes and as your team evolves, you may not want to use the same practices, the same rituals anymore. And so this play helps you just do a little refresh, do a little spring cleaning, do a little evaluation on whether those plays are still helpful. Yes, exactly, Kevin. This is how we do things problem. Like when people are like, why do we have to write the report this way? Why do we have to communicate in this way? Well, if you don't need to, you can change it. So if people are asking that question, why are we doing this? That's a good tip off. That's a good indicator that maybe that thing that they're asking about needs to be revised. Yeah, it's a great one. Any other questions? And feel free to put it in the chat if you don't want to unmute. I already put the link to the website. So if you just want to look through the plays, and if you have a question about any of those plays, you can type in the chat what those questions are. I don't normally do this, but I'll also give you my email address in case you have questions about it. I'll share that we are testing this idea of facilitation training. So sometimes people are scared to start these plays because they're like, well, we don't have a facilitator on the team. I'm here to tell you that if you've never done it before, it's going to be okay, because the next time you do it, it'll be better. And the time you do it after that, it'll be 10 times better. And the time you do it after that, it'll be 100 times better. So you just have to keep facilitating these plays and you'll get better and better and better. And what I just put in the chat as a link is an article on what it would take to get facilitation trained certified with Atlassian. It's totally free. And it's just a way to get better practice. I remember when I first did my first aid and CPR training, I was very, very afraid. I was like, I hope no one needs my first aid or CPR training. And then the next time I took the course, I felt a little bit more confident. And then the next time I took the course, I was like, okay, I could help save a life now. So that's what the training is for, just to get you more exposed and have more practice to facilitating a play. Yeah. If you've never done plays before, I'll offer this for the next month. So for the month of May, anyone that's associated with this group can get a free facilitation by me, and I will do it after hours, so you don't have to worry, or I'll find a way to make the time work for your time zone. But you have to commit to doing it with your team in May. Free facilitation. Obviously, I need to be on Zoom because I can't fly there. But yeah, if that helps, because I know that this can be really scary if you've never done it before, but you have to be a part of this group.
Wow, thank you so much. If there was a way I could send claps so that they shower your room now, it's really good. Thank you so much, Christine, for that. I think something that is quite workable, and I can't wait us to put it to implement it. Obviously, we can agree on the place, on the times, and I'm sure it's something that I would wish all the members of the place to be able to do and to be able to participate, because sometimes we quite get it.
Kevin, do you mind toggling again?
Sometimes my earbuds has issues with the microphone, but it's better now. So I was saying, that thank you so much, Christine, for the opportunity, and I'm sure the members of the ACE would actually be ready and willing to take it up, just to agree on the times to be available that would work with us. And and actually it is something that it's quite welcome. It's timely, because most of the time I have to run the plays myself, because if you tell someone to run, they wonder where do I start, what did I do, and the facilitation will actually be great, so that anyone on the team can run the plays at the ACs, or maybe in their own teams, at their workplace, or maybe in their study groups, or whatever you're doing. It will be awesome, because also it is something that we are trying to do within the ACE. We are trying to build capacity. Currently, we are trying to encourage members to take advantage of Atlassian University, to learn more about the basics of most of the Jira service management, or Jira software, and Confluence, and as well as Trello, so that even when they are facilitating a session, they are well versed about at least the basics of these products. So thank you so much for that.
Of course.
I'll actually put it as a debt on you that you're on that for the whole of May. You better block your calendar when you agree on the time. Block up your calendar on that. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Maybe I don't know whether there's somebody who has any question. Frank, Wolfis, Brian, Tanya, Chacha. Laban, so that at least you can also have something before Christine can make maybe any of her final remarks. If you have a question, I can see Franco, you've unmuted. If you have something.
Yeah. While I stall, if you have a question, feel free to ask it now or put it in the chat even. But if not, I'll be on Atlassian community. I run the Teamwork Lab group. I can help weigh in on things there, but also, yeah, reach out to me if you want to have that external facilitator for the month of May. And again, you have to be a part of this group. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Well, good luck to everyone. I really think that the more you work on these plays, the more you connect with your team, or even if it's not even Atlassian Team Playbook and you just have conversations with your team, I really, really believe that every time you get more understanding and you are more open with your teammates, the more that your team will be the most successful team that you've ever been on, because all that really matters for good teams is relationships, connections, understanding. And I hope that you all have that with your teams, because that's what makes me happy when I work is the people. So yeah, thank you so much for having me, Kevin, and for the rest of you for joining. Hope to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Christine. And
mentioned about your podcast, and I heard it, and it's awesome. I thought you should have done some.
Oh, thank you.
Some personal advert on the podcast.
If anybody, I'll put it in the chat here too. It's called Work Check. It's a debate podcast, and if you're interested in a different topic for us to debate, you can also drop me a line, and maybe we'll debate that on a future episode. Okay, thank you so much again. I hope everyone has a good rest of the week.
Okay, thank you so much. Next time, Christine. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thanks so much. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. I hope you really enjoyed the session by Christine. I will be having more sessions, and again, you're free to also chat me up on my community email. That's my email for Atlassian. Okay, sorry, I've sent it to someone instead of the whole group. We just send it to you. There it is. Once you chat me up, I'll add you onto our special WhatsApp group for the ACE, and I can't wait to have you as members, and also again in future also the co-leaders of the ACE. So again, welcome. Thank you so much for joining in, and again I'll share the link to the session. Here it is. Let me also share that, so that you can also share with your members, for those who are not able to join in. And feel free, let's meet up next time. Also going to be having some of you I'm also part of your team. I really appreciate Paul from Afrix Academy, Franco, Boniface, Brand Mutuma, Dennis, Shatanya, Steven, Laban, and everyone of you who are able to join. Santini, thank you so much. I'll add you on this. Have a nice time. Happy Eid for all the Muslim brothers, and also happy Labor Day, happy new month. Remember, the month of May we are having Christine facilitators, so can't wait to take a break.